Have you been exposed to or exploited by a compromise? Welcome to the Daily Devo. I am Vince Miller. This week we're in chapter 24 of 1 Samuel. I've titled this chapter Decisions That Make or Break Leaders. Decisions that make or break you as a leader. So yesterday we remember David escaped to the strongholds of the Engedi. And this week our entire story in chapter 24 is going to take place here. So let's settle in to verses 1 through 3. It reads, when Saul returned from following the Philistines, quick pause. Remember yesterday he left David at the Rock of Refuge to go back to battle with the Philistines. He is now done. He returns from following the Philistines. He was told, behold, David is in the wilderness of the Engedi. Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel and went to seek David and his men in front of the Wildgoats Rocks. And he came to the sheepfolds by the way, where there was a cave. Note, there were more than one cave there. And Saul went in to relieve himself. Now, David and his men were sitting in the innermost parts of the cave. So, Engedi is a very beautiful oasis on the west side of the Dead Sea. You can still visit this location today. It looks like it did in David's time. It's natural and a very untouched part of the region. Engedi means spring of the wild goats, because the location features this beautiful, natural, cold, freshwater spring. Maybe I'll put a picture over here for you guys, that travels down this cavernous ravine opening up toward the east. The source of that fresh water attracted mountain goats, and in David's time, this area would have been covered in goats. Thus, Engedi is rightly named Spring of the Wild Goats. So David and his 600 men retreat to this location to escape Saul from that rock of refuge. Now, the only problem with this particular area is that it was essentially a killbox. I mean, once you travel the ravine back to the spring, there is no means of escape unless you're a mountain goat, because the caverns were impossible to climb as they were rocky and very dangerous. So David and his men have to resort to hiding in a cave, probably not just one cave, because there were 600 of them, but many caves in this entire location. So this means this is the first time in our story when David has been running that he's finally trapped. He finds it impossible now to run from Saul. And remember, David has been trying to run and avoid conflict with Saul. But now confrontation is inevitable. And wouldn't you know it, Saul has to deuce. At least that's what I would assume. I mean, if Saul has to take a leak, he's with 3,000 other men. He pees on the nearest rock. But that's not what he does. Saul enters a cave, lowers his pants, and squats to relieve himself. But out of all the caves in the Engedi, and there were hundreds, he happens into the one that David is in? Coincidence? I think not. Just go back 2 Devos to see what I believe about coincidences. There is no such thing as a coincidence. God has orchestrated this moment. So David is in a compromising situation, but so is Saul. David is trapped. Saul has his pants down. And now David has a decision to make, which we'll see play out tomorrow. So you're going to have to hang on for the result of this story. Now, all believers eventually find themselves on either side of a compromise. Either we have been exposed to a compromise, or we have been tempted to exploit a compromise. Exposed or exploit, we've been on either side. And these moments test our integrity, beliefs, values, but most importantly, our faith in an uncompromising God. Here's my opinion, my belief. Believers don't make compromises. You don't make compromises. Believers live and lead without compromise. Now, these opportunities to make a compromise come in many forms, but usually appear as alluring shortcuts that promise instant gratification, but end up stealing all that lasting gratification and satisfaction in God. So, when you feel pressure to make a compromise today or this week, ask yourself, what will my actions reveal about my relationship with God to others? And if you feel like you're on the edge of a compromise, about to make a compromising decision, turn back to an uncompromising decision, because any other decision would be a crappy decision. I just love that last part there. I love you guys. I pray this has blessed you. If it has, share it with someone else. And I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.